Welcome to the Chosen Podcast, Flash Clips. I am Jake, and today we're cracking open one of the most powerful and talked about TV episodes out there to really dig in and see what makes it tick, all the history, the controversy, and the meaning packed inside. We are diving deep into Spirit, the 5th episode of The Chosen's 2nd season. It's intense, it's complex, and yeah, for some, it was pretty controversial. So, do you think you caught every little detail? We're going to put that to the test with a quiz to really get into the nitty-gritty of it all. So here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with the setup. Then we'll do a lightning-fast flashcard round to get our historical bearings. After that, it's on to the main event, that huge spiritual showdown. Then we'll tackle a bonus round on the controversies, and we'll wrap it all up with your final score, the biggest takeaways. All right, let's get right into it. Round 1 is all about the setup. What were the key dominoes that had to fall to get this whole dramatic story rolling? Okay, so when the episode kicks off, Mary Magdalene seems to be in a really good place, right? But things take a sharp, dark turn pretty quickly. So the first question is, what exactly sends her spiraling? And the answer is, first, she just sees Roman guards walking by, which is a massive trigger for her past trauma. And then, right on top of that, she has that incredibly intense and disturbing encounter with Caleb, the man possessed by a demon. It's just completely overwhelming for her. Okay, so while all that is happening with Mary, there's a whole other plot line brewing. The Pharisees are actively trying to build a case against Jesus, and they start by interrogating Jesse, the paralytic man he just healed. So what Jesse tells them is absolutely critical. It's not just that he names his healer, Jesus of Nazareth. The real bombshell for them is when he tells them about Jesus' second command, go and sin no more. See, for the Pharisees, this connects Jesus directly to what they considered a messianic miracle. And that was a line they did not want crossed. Okay, time for round 2. We're calling this one Flashcard Frenzy. It's a quick fire round on some key historical and cultural terms you really got to know to fully grasp what's at stake in this episode. First up, Yeshua. Now, the name Jesus was pretty common, but his actual Hebrew name, Yeshua, was way more than just a name. It's literally a combination of Yahweh, for God, and Yasha, which means to save. So his name means God saves. That's his entire mission statement packed into one word. Next, messianic miracles. This is so important. This idea came from an interpretation of the prophet Isaiah that said there were 4 very specific miracles that only the true Messiah could perform. And healing a man born paralyzed like Jesse was on that list. So for the Pharisees, this wasn't just a miracle, it was a political and theological declaration. And that brings us to Hillel and Shammai. Think of them like 2 rival philosophical camps within Judaism at the time. Hillel's school was seen as a bit more liberal, but Shammai's school, which was much stricter, was the one that dominated the Sanhedrin. The show brilliantly uses this real historical tension to show exactly how the authorities planned to legally trap Jesus. And our last flashcard, Belial. Now, when the demon names itself, that is not a random choice. This wasn't some spooky name made up for the show. Belial is an ancient Hebrew term for wickedness, a name that echoes through the Old Testament and the Dead Sea Scrolls as a powerful personification of evil itself. It gives the whole encounter so much historical weight. All right, flashcards are down. Let's get to the main event. Round 3, the spiritual showdown. This is where everything really comes to a head. That exorcism scene with Caleb is, wow, it's such a pivotal moment. So our next question is, how did the way The Chosen portrayed Jesus' power here differ from what you might see in a typical Hollywood movie? And the difference is just night and day, isn't it? Hollywood loves the long, dramatic struggle, right? You get chanting priests, holy water, elaborate rituals, the whole shebang. But what we see in The Chosen is the polar opposite. It's instantaneous. It's authoritative. Jesus just gives a simple, powerful command, be gone, and it's over. No fight, just absolute authority. But you know, this episode wasn't all about these big supernatural showdowns. There was also this really deep, really human connection being explored. I'm talking about that conversation between Jesus and his cousin, John the Baptist. What made their dynamic so different? Well, it was family. It was a true heart-to-heart. You know, John could challenge Jesus and speak to him with a frankness the disciples couldn't. And it perfectly highlighted their different ministry styles. John the radical versus Jesus the planner. 2 very different approaches to the same mission. Okay, let's get into the bonus round. This episode, maybe more than any other at the time, really got people talking online and sparked a lot of debate. So we're going to look behind the curtain at the biggest controversies and what the show's creators themselves had to say. First up, and this was a big one, Mary Magdalene's relapse. A lot of viewers were really uncomfortable with this. The question was, if Jesus healed her, how could she struggle again? Did it mean the healing wasn't real? What was the intent behind that choice? Well, the director, Dallas Jenkins, addressed this head on. He basically pushed back against the idea that when you come to faith, all your struggles just magically disappear. He was open about his own life, saying, quote, "I've had relapses. That doesn't mean I wasn't delivered." He felt they'd be doing the audience a huge disservice if they didn't show that messy, realistic part of the journey. Okay, the other big point of contention for some viewers, the scene where Jesus is shown practicing his sermon, the idea that Jesus being divine would need to work on his lines, that just didn't sit right with some people. So here's the reasoning from the creators. They point to scripture, specifically Philippians chapter 2, that says Jesus emptied himself to become human. Their logic is this: if Jesus was fully human enough to do the hard physical labor of a carpenter, to sweat, get tired, and plan a project, then it's perfectly plausible that he also put in the mental labor to prepare and craft a sermon that would change the world. It was all about portraying his full humanity. So, we've gone through the setup, the context, the main event, and the controversies. Let's tally up the final score. What are the big, crucial takeaways we should all remember from this episode? I think it boils down to three things. First, humanity is key. The show makes a very deliberate choice to show that faith doesn't erase our struggles. Second, context is everything. Understanding things like the politics of the Sanhedrin or the meaning of a messianic miracle just unlocks so many deeper layers of the story. And finally, authority is effortless. The show makes a clear point that Jesus' power over darkness is absolute, immediate, and requires zero human ritual. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Now that you know the why behind some of these creative choices, the reason for Mary's struggle, the logic behind Jesus preparing his sermon, how does that change the way you watch the story? Knowing the intention behind the art can really transform the whole experience, can it? I hope this discussion has given you some new perspectives. Join us next time on The Chosen Podcast as we continue to journey through these incredible stories. Keep those questions coming, keep analyzing, keep diving deep, and most importantly, keep watching. Until next time.